Who are the sons of God? A pre-Adam mystery. Imagine standing at the threshold of creation, before the first breath was taken, before there was earth and sky, when only a sacred, timeless silence existed. And from within that silence, the sons of God appeared. But who are they? Why do they only appear on the fringes of the Bible, mentioned briefly as if their true nature is too powerful to be captured in words? The story of the sons of God is not just a part of Scripture. It opens up a deep mystery, a question that has never been fully answered. Are they angels, or are they beings from a much older era, before humanity even existed? And why is their presence only fleetingly mentioned, as if we are not capable of fully understanding them? In this video, we will explore one of the oldest mysteries in history as we begin our journey to uncover the truth about the sons of God, a part of the hidden creation before Adam, and a story that could completely change the way we view the formation of this world. The great question of original creation. The Bible begins with a majestic declaration. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It's a grand and sweeping vision, a foundation for everything we know. Yet, as the creation story unfolds, there is an undercurrent of something strange, something hidden beneath the surface. In the book of Job, a text that predates Genesis, we encounter a haunting and pivotal moment. God challenges Job with a profound question. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Job 38:4-7. Stop for a moment. Let that question sink in. The sons of God were there long before the earth was even formed, before light was separated from darkness, and before Adam's creation. They were present, celebrating the dawn of creation itself. But why, then, is their role so often overlooked in Genesis? Why do these celestial beings remain so elusive in the narrative of human origins? While Genesis provides a clear, step-by-step account of the creation of the heavens, the earth, and humanity, the book of Job hints at something far more ancient, far more mysterious. It reveals the presence of beings who existed prior to Adam, beings who were not only conscious, but also filled with purpose. These sons of God are not just metaphorical figures or poetic symbols. They are described in the Hebrew text as Beni, Elohim, a term that refers specifically to divine beings, not humans. This realization raises profound questions about the nature of creation itself. Could it be that Adam was not the first conscious creation? Perhaps he was the first of a new kind, a new species, a new form of life that came into being after the sons of God. What does this imply about the divine plan and the layers of creation we have yet to uncover? This glimpse into the ancient world suggests that the creation story, as we understand it, might only scratch the surface of a much grander, more intricate reality. Could the world before Adam have been a divine civilization, one whose records were lost or deliberately hidden? Were the sons of God part of a forgotten celestial hierarchy, one that shaped the world in ways we are only beginning to understand? The more we explore these forgotten scriptures and the enigmatic figures they mention, the more we are forced to reconsider what we know about the origins of the universe and the beings that shaped it. It is a mystery buried deep in the folds of ancient texts, a mystery that may just hold the key to unlocking the true story of creation. The mystery of the origins of the sons of God. If the sons of God were present before the foundations of the world were laid, their existence cannot be part of the human story we know, but rather a far older one, an ancient narrative that the scriptures only dare to hint at. This is where we begin to venture into forbidden territory, because the sons of God were not merely distant celestial observers. Ancient texts, considered heretical or dangerous by religious authorities, reveal a much deeper truth about these mysterious beings. The sons of God were part of a primal, divine order, an original creation that existed long before Adam. The Book of Enoch, a text revered by ancient Jewish sects, tells a shocking story. It speaks of a group called the Watchers, celestial beings sent to observe the earth. But these Watchers did not stay detached. They descended to earth, sharing forbidden knowledge with humanity, knowledge that was never meant for us. As punishment, they were condemned. These were not just random rebels. They were the very sons of God mentioned in Genesis 6. Here, we catch a glimpse of their true origin, a powerful order of divine beings existing long before Adam. Their fall did not begin on earth, but in heaven itself. This leads us to a crucial question: not only why they fell, but who they were before their fall. What were they before they crossed the boundaries of their sacred realm? The Bible, however, remains silent on a key issue. Who exactly were the sons of God? They appear suddenly, with no introduction. They rejoice at creation, and they descend in Genesis, but their true origins remain hidden. To understand their nature, we must dive deeper, exploring the intersections of scripture, mythology, and mystical traditions. One prevailing theory accepted by many ancient Jewish and Christian scholars is that the sons of God were angels. But not just any angels. They were part of an elite order, beings of great power and rank, far beyond mere messengers. These were celestial rulers, standing in the highest courts of heaven, beings of immense presence and authority. But if they were angels, their actions raise even more questions. Angels by nature are messengers, obedient beings who do not stray from their divine purpose. But the sons of God, as described in both Genesis and the Book of Enoch, made choices. They crossed boundaries. They brought knowledge meant for heaven to earth. This discrepancy leads us to consider another, more mystical theory. What if the sons of God were not merely angels, but souls existing before creation? Beings that predated even the formation of the world as we know it, endowed with knowledge and power beyond mortal comprehension. These souls might have inhabited realms of existence far beyond the physical, and their descent to earth, bringing forbidden wisdom with them, was an act not of rebellion, but of divine will that crossed into dangerous territory. This theory offers a glimpse into a more complex narrative of creation, one where the sons of God were not just messengers of heaven, but participants in a much larger cosmic drama. Beings caught between worlds, whose actions shaped the course of humanity and altered the fabric of divine order itself. Their story is one of mystery, wisdom, and a fall that echoes through the ages, waiting to be uncovered. The connection between the sons of God and pre-creation. Soul's Jewish mysticism, particularly Kabbalistic thought, offers a fascinating perspective on pre-creation souls, those primal sparks of divine consciousness that existed before the world was formed. These souls, born from earlier emanations of the divine, resided in spiritual realms, untouched by the material world. Some of these souls fell into a state of corruption, while others were exiled from their original realms. This concept echoes the verse in Jeremiah, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you," Jeremiah 1:5. But is this just poetic metaphor, or is it pointing towards something far deeper and more ancient? Some mystics propose that Adam was not the true beginning of creation, but rather a correction, a tikkun, a fix for a previous creation that had failed. According to this view, Adam's creation was necessary to restore order to a world that had once existed, but had since fallen into ruin. As for the sons of God, they were not angels, nor were they human. They were souls, ancient, radiant beings, some of whom are now hidden in physical bodies, while others were cast into darkness. These souls, in their original form, existed before, the creation of Adam, and may have played a role in the cosmic drama of an earlier creation that had collapsed. Yet, there is another theory that challenges the very structure of Genesis itself: the gap theory. Genesis 1:2 states, "And the earth was without form and void." In Hebrew, however, the word was can also be translated as became. This opens up the possibility that the earth did not start out void, but rather became empty and desolate because it had once been something else, a prior creation that was judged, destroyed, and forgotten. Could this have been a previous world, a creation that existed before the one we know, only to fall into ruin and be erased? Ancient Mesopotamian myths hint at such a scenario, speaking of divine beings who crafted and shaped worlds only to witness those worlds fall into destruction. Egyptian myths, particularly those surrounding the goddess Isis, tell similar stories of divine orders lost to time, consumed by chaos or flames. Could the sons of God have been part of that first world? Beings who lived in a creation long forgotten, a world that fell into disorder and required a fresh start. Could Adam then represent not the first human, but a new beginning for a broken world, a world that had been lost and now needed to be remade? This theory opens up the possibility that what we know as the beginning, the creation of Adam and the earth, was not the true origin of existence. Instead, it might have been a new chapter in a much older story, one that had been veiled by time, lost in the mists of forgotten worlds. The sons of God, once part of that original creation, may have witnessed its fall and the need for a new order, a new creation, one that we now call Genesis. What if the world we know is not the first, but a continuation, a correction of what came before? The sons of God, or beings from a lost world, if the sons of God were remnants of a creation that existed before Adam, whether they were angels, ancient souls, or divine beings from a lost world, then their descent was not merely an act of rebellion. It was a violation of cosmic law, a breach in the fabric of creation itself. According to the Book of Enoch, these beings were called the Watchers. Their role was to observe, not to intervene, never to interfere with the unfolding of humanity's destiny. Yet something changed. Desire, curiosity, or perhaps a deep sense of compassion for humanity drove them to descend. But when they came, they did not come empty-handed. They brought forbidden knowledge, secrets that humanity was never meant to possess, secrets that would alter the course of history. The Book of Enoch reveals that the Watchers taught humanity the arts of warfare, metallurgy, sorcery, astrology, cosmetics, the use of roots, and divination. These were powerful tools, capable of shaping and manipulating the world, but they were far beyond what humanity was prepared to handle. It was as though a floodgate of knowledge was opened too soon, a rush of power and wisdom that humanity was not yet equipped to comprehend. This premature awakening shattered the original order of creation, pushing humanity into realms of power and influence it was never meant to access. In essence, the Watchers triggered a profound change in the human experience, a surge of knowledge that came long before the moral framework required to understand and wield it. Ancient Jewish texts, like Sefer HaRazim, speak of divine systems of knowledge, heavenly wisdom guarded by angels, available only to those with divine permission. However, the Watchers bypassed that celestial system entirely. They did not just observe from the heavens, they broke the sacred rule by giving humanity direct access to forbidden tools. The consequences were swift and catastrophic. What began as an act of divine generosity, granting humanity the potential for greatness, soon spiraled into corruption. The very fabric of creation began to unravel. Mystics of old warned that this moment, the opening of heaven's gate to mortal beings, was not a moment of enlightenment, but a profound trespass against the divine order, a cosmic assault that shook the heavens and disrupted the balance between the spiritual and the material. This was no simple act of disobedience. It was pollution, an intrusion into the sacred, a contamination of what was meant to remain pure. The result of this disruption was the emergence of the Nephilim, hybrid beings, part divine and part human. These offspring were not fully of either realm, but something in between, endowed with immense strength, uncontrolled desires, and alien purposes. Their presence on Earth further destabilized the already fragile order. But more terrifying than the Nephilim themselves was the knowledge they inherited from their divine fathers. It was this knowledge that truly frightened the divine realm, for it held the power to awaken humanity too quickly to allow them to grasp secrets that had once been reserved only for divine beings. This echoes the myth of Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods to give to humanity, forever altering the relationship between gods and men. Like Prometheus, the sons of God brought the flame of divine knowledge to humanity far too soon. The heavens, terrified by the consequences of this premature awakening, responded not just with judgment, but with confinement. The Watchers were imprisoned in the abyss, their names erased from the divine records, their influence buried deep beneath the earth. But the knowledge they shared with humanity could not be fully destroyed. The flame they ignited could not be extinguished, and as we will discover, that knowledge did not vanish. It survived. The knowledge of the Watchers and their forbidden teachings likely endured through the ages, hidden away in ancient stone, encoded in myth, and preserved by secretive societies and individuals who walked among us, unseen. Even after the Great Flood, when the earth was purged of its corruption, traces of this knowledge remained. It passed down through the generations, surviving in ways we cannot fully comprehend. Humanity, once innocent and unknowing, had advanced too quickly under the influence of divine wisdom. It had touched the realm of the gods, and the consequences of this transgression were far-reaching. The divine response to this upheaval was not just a punishment, it was a reset. The cosmic order had to be restored, and in doing so, the balance between heaven and earth had to be re-established. But the knowledge, the power, and the potential for greatness that the sons of God had bestowed upon humanity would never be fully eradicated. It had already taken root, and its seeds would continue to grow even in the darkest corners of history. The mystery of the Great Flood and insights into reconstruction. The Bible tells us, "And God saw that the wickedness of man was great, and his heart was grieved in his soul." Genesis 6:5-6. But what if the Great Flood was not merely a divine response to human sin, but a deliberate act of historical erasure, a purification, yes, but also a concealment? This question digs deeper than the foundation of the Bible, offering a new perspective on the true purpose of the Great Flood. What if it was not just a purge of sin, but a cosmic strategy to wipe away the traces of a prior creation, a restoration of the universal order that had been disrupted by the sons of God? The Book of Jubilees, an ancient Jewish text once held in high regard, suggests that the corruption introduced by the Watchers had spread to every corner of the earth. Their offspring, the Nephilim, dominated the land, their influence bending the course of civilization itself. This chaos could not be allowed to persist. According to this view, the Great Flood was not simply a natural disaster, but a cosmic cleansing, an attempt to purify not just the physical world, but the very fabric of history itself. It was a way to wipe the slate clean, to erase the memory of a world that had fallen into disorder. But here's the unsettling thought. What if this great purge wasn't entirely successful? What if traces of that previous creation, remnants of the knowledge and power granted by the sons of God, could never truly be erased? Across the globe, there are signs that refuse to disappear, megalithic ruins with engineering so advanced It seems impossible for the civilizations of the time to have built them. From the towering stones of Stonehenge to the massive structures in the Andes, these monuments bear the marks of a lost knowledge, a forgotten wisdom that survived the flood. In Malta, Ireland, and the Americas, there are tombs and caves said to hold the remains of giants, beings whose existence defies the conventional narrative of human history. And these aren't just isolated legends. Oral traditions from cultures as distant as the Hopi and the Sumerians speak of a time before the flood, a time when beings walked the earth who were unlike us. These ancient peoples preserve stories of a cataclysmic flood meant not only to destroy humanity, but to bury the memory of those earlier civilizations. Even in Greek mythology, the tale of Zeus flooding the world to destroy the Titans, the offspring of gods and humans, echoes this theme of a great flood meant to erase a hybrid lineage. The parallels between these myths and the biblical flood story are too precise to ignore. Both describe a divine act of purification aimed at ridding the world of beings who should not have existed, creatures born of the union between divine and mortal realms. Could it be that the Great Flood was more than a judgment of sin, more than a simple reset of humanity? Perhaps it was part of a larger cosmic plan to erase the remnants of a creation that had gone wrong, a world that was tampered with by the sons of God. And yet, despite the flood, the evidence of this ancient time refuses to fade completely. The ruins, the legends, and the oral traditions all point to a hidden truth. The traces of the world before Adam, a world that was meant to be forgotten, still linger in the corners of our history, waiting to be uncovered. Traces of existence and the survival of secret legacies. But perhaps the most chilling traces are not buried in stone, but hidden in plain sight. Rituals, symbols, and secret societies. From the Masons to the Rosicrucians, obsessed with ancient knowledge, guarding truths the world was never meant to recover. Could it be that the knowledge of the sons of God was not lost, but merely concealed, encoded in myth, transformed into secret religions, awaiting a moment like ours, when the veil thins, when digital light replaces sacred fire and ancient knowledge begins to awaken once more? So the question circles back to what troubled us from the start. Was Adam truly the beginning or merely a restart? The sons of God, once witnesses to divine creation, became keepers of forbidden knowledge and in some cases, destroyers. But the Great Flood didn't erase everything. Symbols survived. Names echo in myth. And some believe the Watchers never left. Could it be that what was hidden in ancient scrolls and buried underground is now resurfacing in the digital age? That forgotten patterns are being restored in new forms, code instead of stone, frequency instead of fire. If this is true, then we are not merely uncovering ancient truth, we are stepping into its consequences. We are confronting what those in secret societies didn't want us to know. The knowledge the sons of God brought spiraled beyond control, not only altering one society but potentially the entire course of human history. That knowledge may not have been erased, but encoded in myths, in memories of secret religions, awaiting a moment like this when humanity must face its awakening. We must ask ourselves, are we in this modern world unwittingly recreating the mistakes that once led to the collapse of ancient civilizations? The knowledge we are now uncovering is not simply a rediscovery of what was buried. It may be the rebirth of a long-enduring wisdom, an invisible link between humanity and the cosmos, between spirit and matter. So we must ask ourselves, are we ready to face all of this? Do you believe the sons of God are still watching us now? With this new information, you will not only explore ancient history, but also realize the profound outcomes that awakening brings. The sons of God are not just figures in myth or beings from the past. They are factors that survive in symbols, in rituals, and in our lives. As you open this vision, you are not only seeking the truth of the ancient world, but a part of yourself that has been forgotten. Are you ready to step into this journey of discovery? Thank you for watching. If you learned something from this video, please like, subscribe to the Top Hidden Knowledge channel for more content on wisdom, spirituality, and personal growth. Or if you have time, check out other videos on this channel. Until next time.